We're live right now. Welcome to the Jim Acosta Show. It's a different start time today, so hope everybody got the message that on at 2 o'clock Eastern today, it's 11 a.m. on the West Coast. I'm actually on the West Coast, which is why things are a little bit different today. You can see with me right now is Tara Setmayer. I'm so happy to be talking to Tara. She and I have been friends, buddies for a very long time. And I've been telling the viewers that one of the things that's fun about this Substack thing is I'm getting to reconnect with my friends. You know what I mean? And there's
Yes.
no TV gobbledygook getting in the way. I can just like reach out to you and say, Tara, let's do a live. And you're like, okay, let's do it. And we've cut out the middleman. Talk about
Yep.
cutting out waste, fraud, and abuse.
Yeah.
We've
No
done that.
kidding. And it's completely unfiltered, right? You don't have any
Yeah.
overlords that are kind of patrolling what you can and cannot say and who you can and cannot have on your
Yeah,
show. So,
exactly,
yeah.
exactly. Well, Tara, I wanted to talk to you about your Substack post, and Tara's on Substack now, which is terrific. You wrote about Elon Musk and Donald Trump over at the White House, and you wrote, while Trump was busy turning the White House into a tacky infomercial set for Elon Musk's failing Tesla empire, tens of thousands of federal employees, many of them veterans, were being thrown out of work again. And I do want to start there because, I mean, we did think that perhaps one day Trump would turn the White House into a tacky Trump casino, but
Yeah.
he turned it into a used car lot. And let's dive right into this because, I mean, first of all, just the shamelessness of parking his crappy Teslas on the north lawn of the. I mean, that right there, and Trump saying, "Oh, I'm buying one of these," after he was out on the campaign trail trashing electric cars. Anyway,
Right. I know.
all of that bullshit hypocrisy, putting that out of the way, you have been laser focused on these veterans who have been getting laid off as part of these Doge cuts. Take the conversation wherever you want to go to, because I mean, it's just outrageous on multiple levels.
On so many levels. And
Yeah.
just before we get into that, I just want to say how proud I am of you, Jim. And our
Oh,
friendship has really meant a lot to me when we were colleagues at CNN for all those years. That's how I
yeah.
got to know you. And you've always been a stand up guy. And when I decided to get into the Substack world, because a lot of people were telling me, you got to get on Substack, I was like, what is
Yep.
that? And so
Yeah.
when I finally
Me
started to
too.
see, right, I was like, I had no idea. I thought it was like a glorified newsletter. I had no
Yeah.
idea all this very cool, capabilities and all of this community here. I was looking
Yeah.
for a name for my Substack, and because everybody had these like really cool names, unless you're like a big deal like you, where you can just use your name and it's fine. But
Yeah.
I was like, what's gonna be my Substack name? And it was important to me because I felt that my Substack was going to be an extension of me and my beliefs and who I am, kind of an all-encompassing thing for
Yeah.
all the work that I've been doing in the pro-democracy space, not just with women, but just in general of being someone who's always been a voice that people could trust. And
Yeah.
so the word uncompromised came to me because I
Mm,
was watching so many people sell out and compromise themselves.
I
And
know.
when you made the decision to basically tell CNN to stick it, I thought, that Jim is one of the people who, in this moment, was unwilling to compromise when it
Yeah.
mattered most. And so you were really one of the inspirations for why I chose the name
Oh,
Uncompromised. So I just wanted to let you know
thank
the
you.
influence that you've had and that your integrity and being a stand-up guy in this moment matters to so many people
Oh,
because
that means a
a
lot.
lot of people have gone the other way. So thank you for that. And thank you for
That
being
means
one of
so
my
much.
inspirations.
Thank you. And
You're
you've
welcome.
always inspired me. And we'll talk about the news in a second. But Tara, one of the things, and I see this comment every once in a while, somebody will comment and say, "How come you don't have any Republicans on?" I have Republicans on. Tara Setmayer, I don't know if you consider yourself still a Republican, but you were a Republican. You worked for, was it John McCain up on Capitol Hill? Or
No,
you
I
work, who did
actually
you work for on the Hill?
I
You,
I actually worked for a member of Congress from California who was a Reagan speechwriter for many years and who lost his damn mind, unfortunately. And he no, he did. And
yeah,
I felt I'm very heartsick about that because my 7 years with him were glorious 7 years. We did amazing work when I was there.
yeah.
I was on Capitol Hill from 2006 until 2013, and it was wonderful. But I didn't agree with him on everything. He was very wrong. I never agreed with him fully on Russia, and that turned into a whole other thing with Russia
Okay.
moving
I
forward.
think I
But a
know who
lot
you're
of
talking
that,
about. We won't
yeah,
get
just
into
I
all
don't
that.
want to
Yeah.
get into that.
That's a
But
saga.
Yes, it's a saga, but it breaks my heart because he was actually a very good person and funny and great,
Yeah.
treated us wonderfully, and the stories were amazing. And what he gave me so much authority to do good work. He wasn't one of those
Mhm.
members of
Mhm.
Congress that was so egomaniacal that it was all about them. And it wasn't. I was his communications director, and he let me do television on his
Mm.
behalf and on issues that mattered to us. Like that was unheard of on Capitol Hill. He let
Yeah.
me get involved in legislative issues, and I was able to be basically like an Erin Brockovich type of advocate for two
Oh,
Border
wow.
Patrol agents who were unjustly prosecuted back in Texas in 2007 for shooting an illegal alien drug smuggler.
Mm.
It was an absolute travesty of justice what happened to those guys, agents Ramos and Compion. And
Mm.
he gave me the full power of the congressional office to rally the troops and get a national, like righteous anger of the national,
Yeah.
media and people to help convince George W. Bush to commute or pardon these guys. They got 11 and 12-year sentences. And after 2 years of fighting for them, one of his final acts in office, he actually commuted their sentences thanks to my
Wow.
work and others. I didn't do it by myself, but he gave me the opportunity to lead that effort. And it's still one of the proudest accomplishments of my adult career that I was able to
Wow.
save those guys and their lives and their home with their families. And and to see him turn into a MAGA apologist and and
Oh,
just sell out
I
was so
know.
heartbreaking for me. It's like it's like Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Yeah.
I look at
Yeah.
so, and he wasn't the only one. There were so many of my Republican friends and colleagues and people who I respected, who I thought were honest people, that sold out, and that all kind of leads back to the uncompromised moniker that I
Yeah.
have embraced because I never compromised myself.
Yeah.
And at great cost. I could have been
Yeah.
very easily, a multimillionaire with a lot of these other people who sold
Yep.
out and just did it for the money, or,
I know.
just did it for fame and fortune. And I'm like, I'm sorry. What I see going on here is so wrong. It's
Yeah.
un-American. This is not the country that my grandfather fought for in World War II, or that
Right.
my husband serves as a federal officer, or that my grandfather served as a police officer. Like, what
Yeah.
the hell are we doing here? And my Jersey girl DNA would never allow me to sell out. And
Well, good for
here we
you.
are. Here we are
No,
now.
no, and
So
I'm so glad you told us that story because people come from different experiences, different walks of life. You're now at this as a very independent voice in in the information marketplace, information sphere, whatever you want to call it. This independent journalism movement that's happening,
yeah,
independent media movement that's happening in this country. So I love it that you're here.
thank
And
you. And
but
I
let's
did quit the party, by the way. I
I you
finally quit.
did. You
Oh
did. You
yeah.
finally quit.
I quit in 2020, the day after Donald
Yeah.
Trump refused to accept the election results. I was very I almost quit the party about 3 or 4 times during Trump's first
Yeah.
term. And but my good friend Michael Steele, former RNC chairman, talked me out of it a bunch of times
Mm.
because he said,
He's a
listen,
good guy.
I love Michael. I've known him since I was a wide-eyed, bushy-tailed, very young Republican. For
Yeah.
25 years, I've known Michael, and he's always been a stand-up guy. And I always respected his wisdom and his candor, and I knew that he always had my best interest at heart. And I would say to him, Michael, I'm struggling. How do we stay in the
Yeah.
party after Charlottesville? There's good people on both sides. How do I stay in the party after
Yeah.
Helsinki when Donald Trump took the side of our enemy against our own intel community? How
Yeah.
do I stay in a party where he talks about people who came here from shithole countries,
Oh
as
God. Yeah.
right? How do I stay in a party that had women literally chasing down senators, begging them to listen to their experiences as being sexual assault survivors and victims, and them still voting for someone like Brett Kavanaugh to be on our Supreme Court? How do I
Wow.
stay in a party that continues to push conspiracy theories and told people to shove bleach up their ass as a way to cope with COVID? And
Yeah.
we've got
Yeah.
refrigerator trucks of people dying in the streets of, in hospitals in New York City and across the country. How do I
Yep.
stay in a party that advocated a stand back and stand by to domestic terrorists and militias that were, supporting Donald Trump and threatening the American people if he didn't
Yeah.
win. I mean, and Michael
The
kept
list goes
telling
on and
me,
on.
right? It goes on. And he kept saying, we have to stay in because if we don't, then the crazies are going to take over and we're never going to have, the Republican Party will never recover. And I
Yeah.
said, oh, okay, reluctantly, trying to fight the good fight from within, trying to be kind of like a
Yeah.
conscience of the party from within. I tried. And, there were a handful of us never Trumpers from the very beginning that tried to sound
Mhm.
the alarm.
Mhm.
And we realized that
People
the
didn't
the
listen.
party, no, the malignancy of Trumpism just ate away at the core values of the Republican Party that I
Yeah.
that I was a part of, that I thought, existed. And once the constitutional crisis part of this started to happen, and the Mitch McConnells and Kevin McCarthy's of the world were still rationalizing it, and that
Yeah.
wasn't even enough for them, I said, I'm out. I'm done. Sorry, Michael. Can't do it with you anymore. I am done. And I hope the party burns to the ground. And I've never looked back.
Well, and this is why I love having you on because you don't mince words. And the other thing too is that this is not political. And I've been talking about this on my show, the Great American Pushback. That's what I've been calling it. It's not
Yes.
political. People are, oh, the resistance, oh, the left, oh, the liberals, all the Republicans are showing up at Republican town halls.
Yes.
Uh, People are flooding into Bernie Sanders events. It's all across the political spectrum. And I'll tie it back to what we saw yesterday over at the White House with Donald Trump turning the White House into a Tesla car lot.
Oh my God.
People across the political spectrum are saying no to Elon Musk. Yes, he helped Trump buy the election for $290 million. And yes, he's taken a chainsaw to the federal government, but people are hopping mad about it and they're not taking this lion down. And I
Thank
just,
God.
what are your
Thank
thoughts on
God,
all
right?
this? What have been your thoughts on Doge and what Elon Musk is doing? And it kind of almost it feels like the Twilight Zone, just I guess like everything else that Donald Trump does, it feels like the Twilight Zone. But how the
Yeah.
hell did we get to a place where Donald Trump is doing an infomercial for Elon Musk? I guess it's what, to try to pump up his stock price or something, because
Hmm.
that thing has been taking a hit. What have been your thoughts on all this? It's the damnedest
Well,
thing.
it is the world turns upside down. It is the Twilight Zone on ketamine. It is or maybe Adderall, depending on the day. And I
Well,
mean,
both.
all a little of both, right? It kind of ties into where we are now, and why I wrote what I wrote yesterday, actually even why
Yeah,
I'm wearing my NASA shirt today, because of
there you go.
cuts being made to NASA, to our scientists and to our
Hmm.
astronomers, and women and minority scientists and astrophysicists being let go because of DEI bullshit. I mean, it's just really hard to fathom. Now, I can't say that a lot of us didn't warn that we would be here.
Oh
We
yeah.
did.
Yep. Yep.
Donald Trump and MAGA wrote it all down for everyone in Project 2025. They literally spent
They
4
did.
years preparing to do exactly what they're doing right now.
Yep.
Um, I don't know why so many Americans were unwilling to believe their own eyes and ears and believe what Donald Trump said. He said he was going to do this.
He
And
did.
once Elon Musk came on the scene and started throwing money around to the tune of, like you said, to 200 to $300 million, even though that's chump change for Elon Musk, who's the richest man in the world, that ain't chump change in a presidential election. That
That's right.
I don't think there's ever been a single donor that has spent that much money to buy a presidential candidate ever.
Yeah.
And that's thanks to Citizen United, and that's a whole nother conversation. But
Yeah.
um, you think that Elon Musk did that because he just out of the goodness of his heart?
Yeah.
No, it's a quid pro quo. And we saw the quid pro quo right there live on television on the South Lawn of the White House yesterday.
Yeah.
Elon, the free market, which Republicans used to believe in, the free market said, we don't like Elon and what he's doing, so we're not going to buy his stupid shitty cars anymore. And so the all this uncertainty and all this that's going on, and kind of like the Nazi salutes and calling American citizens parasites, and we're going to cut Social
Unreal.
Security, like all of this stuff that Elon's been doing, the weird, like ill-fitted shirts jumping around and all of this, like people are going, wait a minute, wait. I'm not going to give my money to this guy. I'm not
Yeah.
giving my money to this. So they've decided, no, we're not supporting Tesla, and the stock has plummeted. And I think
Yeah.
Elon's lost what, 100 and something billion dollars in
It's
in
wild.
right. And so this was Donald Trump doing the bidding of his number one benefactor,
Yeah.
right?
No, there's no question
That's what
about
that
it.
was. It's
And
disgusting.
and I know you've been focused in on veterans losing their jobs. I just saw this Market Watch reporting the number of United States veterans with jobs plunged by 175,000 last month, and the share of veterans who are either unemployed or have dropped out of the workforce completely jumped by a full percentage point. That's Market Watch quoting the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. And Tara,
Outrageous.
the reason why I brought up the Republican thing earlier and got your bio wrong, so forgive me for
Oh,
that,
it's
but
okay. I mean, I listen,
is
it was my brand for 20. I mean, I was a Republican for almost 30 years, 27 years. So it's
right.
easy to, I
Well,
was very well known as a Republican
it,
voice.
it, I mean, I've been around for a while. I've been around the block or two. Republicans always, I thought it was part of their stock and trade to defend veterans, to put their arms around the veterans. I mean, Trump literally like bear hugs American flags at CPAC.
Ugh,
I'm being diplomatic when I describe it in those terms,
yeah.
but and to see these veterans just getting laid off left and right at places like FEMA. I talked to one last week. She was laid off at her job at FEMA. And to me, it almost sounds like it's like a political suicide mission that they're on right now. I don't know
Right.
what
Between
the
veterans and like cutting Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid,
right.
like what are we doing? It
and having
literally is.
and having Elon Musk talking about Social Security being a Ponzi scheme. He said that the other day, and I'm just like, and Trump, not saying whether or not we're going to have a recession. He's kind of cagey about what in the world is going on. Is it just that he thinks he's a one termer and that's it? He's done, and so he can just do whatever the f he wants. I don't.
Listen,
I can't figure it out.
I think there's a lot of things going on here. Um,
Yeah.
Donald Trump doesn't think he's a one-termer.
Well.
Let's remember that there is a
Well.
movement to try to get him to never leave office, right?
Yep.
They want to amend the Constitution. They're talking at CPAC, this most recent CPAC. They had the banners and signs about third term. Like they're serious.
Yeah, they are.
They're serious about this, and just like people kind of like to joke and laugh off some of the crazier things Donald Trump has said. No, 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 no. We are way past laughing at anything crazy that Donald Trump says. He means it. And he doesn't have the guardrails around him that he had the first term. And so we need to like take it all seriously. This whole thing with what they're trying to do now with just basically dismantling and decapitating our federal government and our way of life here
Yeah.
is all part of a much bigger, more sinister, I hate to say, plot here. There's a reason Donald Trump is surrounded by these tech bros, people like Peter Thiel, who basically bought and paid for the vice president, and JD Vance.
Mm.
The For those who don't know, they should
We
pay
don't talk
attention to
about that enough. You're right.
that's right. Pay attention to JD Vance's journey here, okay?
Yeah.
How Peter Thiel has been bankrolling him since his days graduating from college at Yale, okay?
Yeah.
Somebody
Yeah.
just doesn't give someone 10 and 15 million dollars for nothing. And this weirdo tech bro, like tech feudalism philosophy that
Yeah.
Peter Thiel and these other billionaire tech bros believe in, this guy Curtis Yarvin, who's a very
Right.
dangerous wacko that
Yep.
believes in
A
dismantling
monarchy, right?
democracy, right? He thinks we should be in like tech state monarchies run by tech CEOs. He thinks democracy shouldn't be. He said he wrote that the American people need to get over their dictator phobia. This is the guy that is the political guru of Peter Thiel and JD Vance and these people that are in Trump's orbit. Now, do I think Trump is in on this philosophy? No, he doesn't have a philosophy. He's a nihilist. He doesn't really he just
Yeah.
doesn't it's all about himself.
It's
So
all
he's kind of
transactional.
that's right. He's kind of
Yeah.
like the toddler that they're using that happens to be in power. He's the Manchurian candidate. Like, let's just give him
Yeah.
this over here, make him
Three men
feel
and a man
good.
baby or something like
That's
that. I
right.
don't
That's
know.
right. But there's other things going on here, and so all of this kind of just like as Steve Bannon calls it, this muzzle velocity flooding of shit of what's happening, and just
Yeah.
the speed at which they're doing it, which I'm a little shocked about. I didn't think it would be this fast.
Yeah.
But that's what's going on here. These
That's
guys are
true.
pulling the strings, and the American people need to be aware of it because then it starts to make more sense. Same thing with this obsession with Greenland. Like, I was like, "What
Yeah.
the fuck? What is with this Greenland or
I don't
taking over
know.
Canada?" I do know
Yeah.
because
Yeah,
I
please.
started to go down the like
You
I
went
said,
down
I
the
started
rabbit hole?
the
Okay, all
rabbit
right.
hole of this
Yeah.
whole, like, tech bro feudalism thing, and this is part of kinda like the Christian nationalism has its own, like,
Yeah.
nefarious things that they wanna do, like with, making women subservient and taking our our right to vote away and no fault divorce and making us all be, fertility vessels and stuff like that, very Handmaid's Tale. That's the Christian
Yeah.
nationalist side of stuff.
Right,
The
right.
tech bro side of this is different. They want,
Yeah.
like I said, they want these weird,
A lot
like,
of those guys seem
tech
like they don't
states.
have sex. I mean, and that
Well,
seems to be part of the
right,
problem. I mean, it's kind of an
that's true.
incel thing. I
Yeah, there's that, and they have this weird obsession with living forever, and
Yeah,
they
it's
want these like
weird.
pure race things, and they want to repopulate the earth with their people,
Do
and
some of these guys just need
Greenland.
like a girlfriend or a boyfriend or like a
I
try a
think they
speed
just
dating night at a local
something
bar or something, you
they
know?
didn't where they weren't loved enough by their parents. They all need group
Yeah.
therapy, trauma
We can
therapy.
get them
Elon
some
Musk and
love.
all of them. I know, like, we should not have to suffer because they didn't get their proper, like, trauma therapy from their shitty parents growing up. um but
A
that's
lot of
what
us had
Greenland is
bad
about.
prom nights, you know? It's not
I,
like you gotta take over the world because of that. Don't take it out on the rest of us.
I know. I mean, it's like where we're at now. But that's like Politico did a story on this about Greenland. It was like it was like
Yeah.
a Politico PM newsletter kind of write up on this that I happened to catch on a Saturday night about Greenland. And that this is like some kind of part of their weird, like, philosophy that Greenland is one of
Man.
those places that they want
It's cold as
to
shit there.
repopulate. I
I
know.
don't
I'm like,
understand that. You're gonna
well,
take over
cold,
Greenland, and
right?
then have you been there? Like when
I mean,
Don Jr. went there, all the pictures were inside. So, you know, like
yes,
I didn't see
because
him like
it's cold. And
it's friggin'
listen,
cold there.
the Northern Lights, I'm sure, are really cool. I would
I'm
love to go to
sure.
Greenland. I would love to
Yeah.
go there. I think it looks
Beautiful.
cool. But they're a sovereign entity, right?
I
They
don't know. Some of the
belong to
visitors there, maybe
Denmark.
it's all the snow. They're just looking around and they're look at all this white stuff. No, you can't snort it. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
you'll
Sorry,
get a
sorry,
brain
Don
freeze.
Jr. Don Jr. That wasn't the trip you thought you were going on. Look, this is all part of their, like, weird imperialistic takeover. They want this whole, like,
Yeah.
North American thing, and so it is beyond just, don't let them bullshit you into, well, it's because of strategic reasons that we need Greenland. We don't need to take over Greenland for that. We already are, like,
Yeah.
we're friends with them already. We already
Right.
have strategic alliances. We don't need to take them over. That's not what America does. That's what Russia does. That's what China does. That's not what
Yeah.
America does. So
Right.
that's bullshit. And this stuff about Canada and calling Canada the 51st state and everybody just kind of shrugging that off,
It's
that's
so
not a joke
stupid.
either. It's not
Okay, well,
okay.
let's hit the pause button because I want to ask you about
Yeah,
this because maybe I'm off base on this. You're a political guru, you know this stuff really well. If the first of all, what kind of world are we in now where we've pissed off the Canadians? That's one
I
thing. They're
know.
like our best friends. It's like
I know.
we've pissed off our best friend. The other thing though is it is so politically stupid to for a Republican or for MAGA to want Canada to be the 51st state. Wouldn't they have like as many electoral votes as California or something? And then they
Yes.
would vote for the Democrats. So I just, like
It's a
they're
cell
not going to vote
phone.
for you, Donald Trump. Like, so I don't
I,
know. I mean, should we talk to the Canadians and be like, Justin Trudeau, this Carney guy, can we try it out for a few cycles and then you go back to being a country.
I
I'm
know.
kidding to my Canadian
I
friends. I'm
know.
not
I
saying
know.
make them the 51st, but you know what I'm
No.
saying? Like they
Yeah,
don't
I
think this
know.
stuff through and Donald Trump doesn't think things through. He just,
No.
yeah.
He reacts, and I think that he's using this whole tariff thing as kind of like, again, like a toddler that found a new toy. They realize, ooh, I can press this button and this makes me, oh, I'm the big boy now. And
Yeah.
if you don't do what I say, I'm gonna take your country. Like, it's insane. This
Yeah.
is
He's
insanity.
kind of a
It's
see and say.
lunacy.
Remember the see and say where you would pull the string. This is a duck. Whack, whack, whack.
Right.
And they're only like 12 animals. And so with
Right.
Trump, it's like you pull the string and the thing goes around. Windmills cause cancer, and you pull the string and it goes around. Hannibal Lecter. That's kind of what Donald Trump is, and he does 51st state. And I don't think it's he's an old guy. It's like grandpa. You have the same conversation with him a few times.
Right. Except that grandpa has the nuclear codes and
Well, that's
access to
true.
the greatest, fighting machine in the world in our military that's now run by a Fox News host. Like, what?
Yeah.
Like, this is, and we've got a borderline Russian asset as our DNI, with our intelligence. No wonder our
Yeah.
allies are like,
Oh
sorry,
my
but we're gonna have to
God.
make contingency
Well,
plans here until America gets their shit together because this
you're
is
also
nuts.
so strong on this Ukraine issue, Tara. What I mean, because it's been reported today that Ukraine has sounded open to a ceasefire, but now the Kremlin is saying, you know, uh, let's see how it goes. I mean, they're not really. It doesn't sound like they're open to this, and
Why would
so
they?
right. Why is it that, why is Trump pressuring the Ukrainians to go first? They're not the ones
Jim,
yeah, all right.
you
I'll
know why.
I know, but I was trying to tee you up. So,
We all
yeah.
know why.
Yeah.
Donald Trump is in a bromance with Vladimir Putin. He
Yeah.
wants to be like him so badly. And he has this weird love affair. I call it a political throuple with Putin and Kim Jong Un.
Oh
Like,
God.
they're like in
That's
this
a visual I
weird,
did not need.
I know, I probably like bleh, but I'm just saying,
Yeah.
proverbially,
Yes.
because the guy does not respect democracy. Donald Trump and MAGA hates everything that makes America great. They hate everything about it because what they're doing to our country and who Donald Trump is allied with is so polar opposite of everything that America stands for. It is a polar opposite slap in the face to our grandfathers and great grandfathers who traversed oceans and shed blood on other continents
Yeah.
during World War II to
Right.
protect
That's
democracy
right.
and protect American values and the values of freedom.
Mm-hmm.
it, Donald
Damn
Trump is the
right.
antithesis to that. What a slap in the
And
face.
he ca- and Elon Musk is calling Mark Kelly a traitor. I saw you wrote
Oh my
about that.
God. Yes, I did.
I
And that
talked to
kind of
Steve
brings
Schmidt about
us,
this yesterday, and Steve and I went off, and it is so vile and
it's
sickening.
it's unspeakable. It goes back
Yeah.
to, and it kind of like ties in, with the fact that how could we possibly not be on the side of Ukraine 1,000%, right? Like
Yes. Yes.
our Ronald Reagan is about to spin out of his grave and jump up out of it and run down Pennsylvania Avenue into the front
Yeah.
door of the White House and like smack Donald Trump and go, "What the hell are you doing?" Like what? Like
Yeah.
I can't even imagine. And all these Republicans that prided themselves on the Reagan, shining city on a hill, and that's what attracted a lot of us to the Republican Party. That the importance of our allies and our strategic, position in the world, that's gone. For
Yeah.
what? Because Donald Trump is it's the love affair with Putin because he wants to be like that because he's a sicko. But also, God knows, I don't know, does Putin have
Yeah.
something on him? We've always wondered because it feels very like,
Well,
how
that
could you
is
be that? Like, how could you
I've
be
been
that
calling
into it?
I've been calling that the Scooby-Doo mystery. Like one
Mm-hmm.
day we're going to pull the head off and it'll be Old Man Withers from the haunted amusement park.
Yeah.
And he would have gotten away with it if it hadn't been for those meddling kids. But
Yeah.
I sort of feel like one day we're all going to figure out that mystery. Like, why is it that Donald Trump just at every turn he sides with Vladimir Putin? And I do love your Reagan theme because it's making me think that a Reagan zombie revenge film would be like it would be a summer blockbuster.
Yeah.
It would be so good.
Yeah, I mean, I
Um,
think people would, a lot of people who were, my Democratic friends are like, "God, the hell with Reagan," but they're like, "We would take Reagan back in a heartbeat if it meant
yeah,
stopping this slippery slope with like to authoritarian hell with
it's
gasoline draws on that we're on, thanks
yeah,
to Donald Trump and Elon Musk." Which brings us back to what you were talking about with
yeah,
Mark Kelly, with Elon Musk having the audacity to call Mark Kelly a traitor. Are you
yeah,
kidding me? I mean, are you
unreal.
effing kidding me? This guy who comes from Nazi grandparents who left
Yeah,
Canada to go to South Africa because they felt more comfortable in apartheid. That's who Elon Musk was raised by, okay? In
yeah.
that family. That guy, this guy who gives the Sig Heil twice
Ugh,
on the inauguration day is the guy that our country is entrusting, that the
so
president of the
scary.
United States is entrusting with revamping our entire government. That
Yeah,
guy has the audacity to call Mark Kelly, who is a hero. He is a guy who gave his entire
amen.
life to service. He served in the Navy as an aviator. I wore my NASA shirt for this conversation in
Yeah.
honor of Mark Kelly and his twin brother. So not
I
only is
love I
Mark
love them
Kelly,
both. They're
right?
great. Yeah.
He's
And who
not the
doesn't
only
love an
badass in his
astronaut?
right. He's not the only badass in his family. His twin brother was also a Navy pilot and an astronaut.
Yeah.
And Mark Kelly is married to Gabby Giffords, who survived a
An
mass
assassination.
shooting,
That's right.
an assassination attempt on her life, serving this country as a member of Congress. So you know
Yeah.
what? Elon Musk can go fuck himself, has with some nerve calling Mark
Yeah.
Kelly a traitor. But yet
Yeah.
Donald Trump isn't the traitor after he pardons the real traitors on the January 6th perpetrators and the
Right.
Proud Boys and all of that. Where the hell are the
Yeah.
Republicans who claim to be the back the blue and to claim to be pro-veteran and pro, all of those things that make America great? Where the hell are
Yeah.
they? They're okay with this? I
Yeah.
That's why this is why I quit the party and I hope it burns to the ground, because they've turned themselves into a fascist, authoritarian group of hypocrites that have
Yeah.
abdicated everything about the oath of office that they took. And so
Yeah.
I have no patience for it. And in the Substack I kind of combined all of this, because my organization, the Seneca Project, we started last
Yeah.
year. My co-founder and I started last year as a bipartisan group that to galvanize women, particularly right of center women,
Yes.
to help save our democracy, because we saw what was happening with women's rights and what, post Roe and all of what was going on. And we were like, okay, no one else is really doing this. And
Yep.
we're
We need
messengers,
this.
right? We need
We need
messengers
this.
and we need killer messengers. And so, I come from as you know, I come from Republican world, and I was a political communications person for almost 30
Yeah.
years there.
Yeah.
I understand how Republicans fight. I'm also from Jersey. So we know how to fight. Okay.
I
So
know. I
in
don't
one
mess with
way or
Jersey.
another, no, you
Yeah.
don't mess with New Yorkers or New Jersey
I
people.
don't. I don't. Yeah. I
But
just.
so
Yeah.
and my co-founder Michelle Kinney, she's from New York. She's a New Yorker. So we
Yeah.
combined, she came from Democratic world. I come from Republican world, and we've said we're going to take our skill set as killer communicators and ad makers and messengers and message to women about the
Yeah.
importance of this election, and also the importance of saving our democracy, because it's all encompassing.
It's vitally
Women,
important. Yeah.
right? Women are a vital, having making sure that women have equal rights in a democracy is important to that. That's
Yeah.
why they come for women's rights in authoritarian regimes. That's why they try to
Yeah.
subjugate women. They want to take our rights to vote away, right? So that's how we
Yeah.
started. Obviously, the election didn't go the way we wanted. We did see some down ballot success, which was great. Now, we started very, very late in the game.
Yeah.
We had to make a decision to break away and do what we wanted to do, because we felt that it wasn't being done in an honest way. And so we wanted to do it in an honest way. And so that's why we started the Seneca Project last June. We're relatively new. We are a super PAC. So we run off of the generosity of the people who donate to us, and we're grateful for the people who have. And we were able to make some really powerful quality ads and videos and to get them out there.
That's
One of our
great.
crowning achievements was an ad called American Girls, which was our final election ad that went uber viral. I mean, we had no
Oh,
idea.
that's great.
We knew it was going to be a powerful message, but we had no idea that it was going
Yeah.
to take off the way it did, and to be a new organization and to have
Yeah.
American Girl touch so many people. I mean, Hollywood celebrities.
I love it.
I mean, it was unbelievable how many people. I was out to brunch just 2 weeks ago with my husband, and I had one of my purple Seneca Project hats on,
Yeah.
and the waitress said, "Oh my gosh, is that the group that did American Girl?" And I said, "Yeah, that's my
Fantastic.
girl.
That's
I'm the
great.
co-founder." She said, "I cannot tell you how touched I was by that ad." She said, "I
Yeah.
sent it to everyone in my family. It made us cry. It made us proud to be
That is
women.
so
It
great.
was inspirational to my daughters. Like, thank you so much for doing that." And I teared up right there, because I was like, wow, it reminds you
Wow.
that what you do has impact. So we just
Yeah.
re-released American Girl as part of Women's History Month, because a lot of people also wrote in and asked us to explain a lot of the historical references and who some of these trailblazing women were in that ad.
Yeah.
So if you guys want to follow Seneca Project on all our socials, it's there. But we also decided that we needed to, going into this new political reality,
Yeah.
shift focus a little bit. We've expanded our mission. We've abandoned the bipartisan part of this, because unfortunately there really are no Republican good faith actors on the other side right now. We welcome them in, like if people are willing to
It would be
denounce what
great.
their
Yeah.
party's doing, right? Because this affects all of us. It affects all of us. This transcends party lines. The
Yeah.
hell that we're living through, this nightmare, it transcends party lines. And as MAGA
Absolutely.
is finding out, right? They have fucked around and now they're finding out. They're in the finding out stage. All these MAGAs that voted for Donald Trump thinking they were going
Yeah.
to own the libs, guess what? You're getting owned too. Because as you mentioned earlier,
Yeah.
veterans are being overwhelmingly impacted. They're 30% of the federal workforce. A lot
Yeah.
of these people who thought that they were, that it was going to be those people, those libs over there that were going to get owned. No,
Yeah.
because you are losing your jobs, your communities are losing their government contracts and services. And now people are going, oh, wait. I don't think this is what we voted for.
Yeah.
Maybe some people
Nope.
did, but most people did not. So for
Yeah.
Seneca Project, we decided to expand our messaging focus to not just women, because that's still very important. We still see what's going on here. And we are a women led organization coming from the perspective of women, but we are also capable of talking about other things. And
Yeah.
some of those, we're leaning more into the democracy side of stuff now because it's so important that we're like, it all cascades from there. If we lose the democracy, nothing else matters. We put
Yeah.
out an ad called Unsafe as soon as we saw the plane crashes, and then like at the same time
Yep.
they're cutting FAA and air traffic controllers. Like,
It's
do you
been
feel safe
nuts.
in Trump's America?
Yeah.
We put out an ad on Ukraine called Useful Idiots because we saw
Yeah.
that disgusting display of what Donald Trump did to Zelensky in the Oval Office. How dare he? Right? We put that out.
That's great.
And then we put out
Yeah.
in partnership with Marcus Flowers, who ran against Marjorie Taylor
I remember.
Greene.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, he's an Army veteran because we watched what's
Great
happening to
guy.
our
Yep.
veterans. We're going, this is not okay.
Well,
Veterans are like, what are we doing? And we put out an
yeah.
ad that's out now called Betraying the Brave. And that's
Yeah.
what I wrote my Substack on because literally Donald Trump is the first president in
Yeah.
history to abandon our veterans and their families. And
It,
people need to know this.
they need to know it. Well, I'm so glad we did this. I'm so glad we got you on the Substack Live. Let's keep doing this. Let's keep the conversation
Yes.
going. I've been talking about
Thank
doing
you.
doing a town. I would love to do a town hall style event. I'm kind of working on
Oh,
this.
count
Tara,
me
I
in.
think I think you would be perfect for this. Let's do it. And we'll do it as a joint venture with the Seneca Project, which I think is a fantastic organization. Everybody
Thank you.
follow Tara on Substack. She's a little new to the place. But we'll show her around and show her a good time. But it's always great to talk to you, Tara. I just love everything
Thank
you had
you.
to say today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Jim. You're the best. And I appreciate what you're doing. And it takes people like us as the messengers. We can't rely on the Democratic leadership or we can't rely on corporate media.
No, it's about the
No one's
people.
going to save us but us.
That's it.
So count me in anywhere that I can be helpful with that. I appreciate you, Jim. Thank you.
Thanks, Tara. All right, great to see you. All right, that's Tara Setmayer, everybody. And I mean, Tara made so many amazing points that I knew that if I just let her go, she was just going to take it by the horns, and she really did today. I'm really appreciative of Tara Setmayer and everything that she does. I'm going to try to bring in Brian Karem now because Brian and I, we we worked at the White House together. He and I have been friends for years, and Brian and I were. I mean, let's just face it, we were in the trenches together over there during the first Trump administration. They pulled my press pass, then they went after Brian Karem's press pass. And one of the reasons why I've been wanting to talk to Brian is because of what we've been seeing over there. There he is. There's Brian Karem right there. Brian, good to see you, buddy.
Good to see you, Jim.
Um,
How you doing, brother?
good. I was just teeing you up and talking about how you and I were in the trenches together during the first Trump administration. They went after my press pass. They went after your press pass. And I do want to talk about some of the other items in the day's news, but first and foremost, I want to ask you because you've been there covering the White House during
Yeah.
Trump 2.0, and I'm
Not,
glad
not,
they
not.
let you through the gate. I assume that you
A
got
few
through the
times they
gate.
let me through the gate. They,
what, what the
they don't
hell's
like to
going on over
listen to
there?
me, but I'm putting together a documentary, "The First 100 Days of Chaos of Donald Trump." So I have been
Yeah,
there off and on. I find it amazing how he did learn from his interaction with you and me.
Yeah.
in his first term. He's not going to try and pull our press passes anymore. He's just going to limit
Hmm.
access to the pool. He doesn't do the chopper talk sessions like he used to.
Interesting.
He doesn't face the open press. He hasn't been to the briefing room. He spent 3 years in his first term not going to the briefing room. It was COVID
Yeah.
that drove him there, and so he's had very limited access to. And meanwhile, he's telling you that he's going to control the people that are in the pool because he wants greater access to the people that don't aren't normally in the pool, and he wants to give them greater access. And you and I both know that's a lie. If he wanted greater access, he could merely march his fat butt 75 feet down the hall, walk into the White House press briefing room,
That's
and
right.
there
That's
are
right.
150 people there. Only 12 or 15 of them are in the pool, and everybody else, he doesn't have to call on the pool. He doesn't have to call
Yeah.
on the first two rows. He could
That's
call
right.
on everybody else, and they'd be happy to offer him a question. But it's just he pretends to be transparent, and really what he's about is obfuscation and lies. And you and
Yeah.
I both know that. But he's not going to come after it because you beat him in court. I beat him in court. He doesn't
Right.
want to face that in court again. He's just going to
No, he
limit
doesn't.
access.
But he's thrown the AP out, and the AP has sued him, the Associated Press,
Yep.
one of our most respected institutions in America, doing great journalism over there. And, what have been your thoughts on that? I have some thoughts on that. I mean, to me, it's a dangerous, slippery slope that we're on right now. He bans them from the press pool, bans them from the Oval Office, bans them from Air Force One, and now you have the White House trying to pick and choose who is in the press pool.
Yeah.
And you ended up with that goofy situation the other day with Zelensky, where Marjorie Taylor Greene's boyfriend, which I don't remember the guy's name, all I know is people call him Marjorie Taylor Greene's boyfriend, is asking Zelensky why he's not wearing a suit, which is the dumbest, stupidest
It's a
question that
ridiculous
it's just
question.
so what is going on with all that?
Well, first of all, that is a ridiculous question considering the day before Donald Trump's shadow president, Elon Musk, or Donald Trump, or Donald Musk, or Elon Trump, whatever his name is, showed up
Yeah.
in a cabinet meeting in a T-shirt that said tech
Right.
support and a bro hat that said Mag. So you're going to give that was a formal cabinet
Yeah.
meeting. Now,
It's
and I would
selective
remind
bullshit
you that
outrage.
Yasser Arafat, Winston Churchill, most of the members of the Saudi family show up at the White House and they don't wear suits either. So it was a
Yeah.
garbage. It was a garbage question. And if you watch, there are even times where they start out some of these questions from some of his sycophants start out with, you're the greatest thing since sliced bread. You can make rainbows jump out of your butt. Gosh darn, how can you be better as a president? The questions are maniacal. And for
Yeah.
you and I, we both grew up. Sam Donaldson is our mentor, and
Right.
and
Yep.
and Helen Thomas. Those people would hold everyone accountable, and
That's
you're
right.
not getting
That's right.
that in this press office anymore. It's what he's doing is controlling the access. The White House Correspondents Association doesn't even call it the press pool anymore because they've lost control of it.
Well, yeah,
So it's
Oliver Darcy reported this a couple of days ago in his brilliant status newsletter. It's a terrific newsletter. He wrote that Eugene Daniels, the head of the Correspondents Association, essentially told the members that the White House is now in charge of the pool.
yeah.
It's not the WHCA, it's not the press. The White House is in charge of the pool. And to me, that's those are grounds for a revolt. I mean, honestly,
I'm with you
yeah,
there. And,
yeah,
and by the way, Eugene, let's call it what it is. Eugene, for the first week of this presidency, he himself was publishing the president's schedule because they didn't have anyone on their staff to, the daily guidance that we get of his schedule. The president of the
yeah,
WHCA was doing the job of the White House. So at that point in time, you've lost all credibility with me. So
yeah,
we're
yeah.
not there to do their job. They're there to
No,
answer
no, no,
our
no.
questions.
And I like Eugene. I'm not close enough. I'm not in there every day, so I don't know what's going on.
Mhm.
But when the Correspondents Association is saying, well, no, the White House is in charge of the press pool now, that to me, at that point, that's when all the news organizations need to say, hey, White House, we would love to come in there and cover you every day, but we're just not going to show up today, or you're not getting your TV cameras in the pool today. To me, there has to be some sort of collective action. A full blown boycott, I suppose that won't work because you'll have some people who won't cooperate.
Well, what you'll
But
have is if you and I stood there and boycotted it, which would be our want, and your first move would be to, yeah, I'm going to boycott him. He'll just fill it with sycophants and cameras of his own
Yeah.
liking, and then it's just propaganda. Like the presidential PEP secretary, she's not a press secretary. I wouldn't
Yeah.
even say she's a minister of propaganda. She's just merely a PEP secretary. I'm waiting for the pom
Yeah.
poms in the cheerleading outfit, because that's all that is, and calling on
Yeah.
people that he likes. So the only real thing I think that you can do is what the AP has done, is do what you and I did and sue them and
And
go
see if that
after
and see if
them.
that has some sort of effect. But the judge in the AP case, correct me if I'm wrong here, he did not grant them immediate relief, and so they're still kind of boycotted at the moment. Is that?
Yeah, well, to your
Yeah.
point, this is where they should have had Ted Boutros, our attorney, on this case,
Yeah.
because there were several
Ted's the
people.
best.
Yeah, there were several people. I think even Ted, I may be speaking out of turn, who said,
Yeah.
"Listen, they wanted immediate relief. They went in for a TRO, temporary restraining order, because
Yes.
they said they couldn't do their job unless they had the access. But they waited a week or 10 days to file it, so it kind of weakened
Mm.
their argument. And so
Yeah, that doesn't work.
if they had filed that immediately, I think they would have gotten the relief. But their case isn't dismissed. And the judge, if you read what the judge said and what the judge has said, they still think that the White House is on a slippery slope.
Yeah, he seemed open to their arguments, which is
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
But what you need is you need immediate relief on the part of the AP. And so, what do you think it's going to take here? I mean, I saw that statement from Caroline Levitt the other day, where she put out this statement explaining what they were going to do with the press pool. And she said, "Well, don't worry, TV networks, you guys are still fine. You're going to go in there and you're going to get your pictures and everything." And it seemed to me that sort of revealed a little bit of a pressure point or vulnerability on their
It
part.
is.
And if the TV networks were to say, listen, you're going to screw with the AP, you screw with us. You screw with the AP, the TV networks aren't going in there. And oh, by the way, when Fox was getting, harassed a little bit by the Obama White
We
House,
all stood up
that
for them.
the press came in and stood up for Fox. So Fox, you have to stand up for the AP. I think the networks need to stand up for the AP to get their
Yes.
butts back in there, because to me, he should not be able to get away with this. That's just me.
No. Well, I agree with you. Not only should he
Yeah.
not be able to get away with it, he should be punished for it. Because the
Yeah.
fact of the matter is, he's destroying what's left of free speech any way that he can. He claims he's for free speech, and yet, there's a guy with a green card at Columbia University who's facing detention because he
That's right.
exercised his free speech. By the way,
Yeah.
they don't let the AP in. They're exercising their free speech. And for those who don't know, and it's worthy of remembering why the pool was set up. The AP and the print people are the ones that provide us the observation and the facts that we use in broadcasting
That's
often.
right.
Now, the cameras take the pictures, but it's that reporter on the ground. And there was a reporter the other day who approached someone in the print pool and said, "Why are you sitting there just watching what's going on in the oval? You can't hear them. I'm not going to bother with it." And he goes, "Because that's my job,
That's what you
observation."
do. Right.
That's what you observe, you write down, you let people know what's going on. And for those who don't know, the pool was originally set up, it was a dead pool. If something were to happen catastrophic to the president, someone wanted to be and needed to be a witness to it. So
Yeah.
anytime he's in the public eye, he is before a camera or a reporter, so that we can at least observe and be an
Yeah.
independent observer of what goes on. It was later prostituted into mini press conferences where he would, and Trump is the king of doing that, manipulating
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
small group. But the fact of the matter is, our job is to observe and report. And so
Yeah.
the press, the print is shoulders a lot of that. So when you
Yeah.
remove the AP and you just have cameras, that he loves the cameras. You're right. That's a
Yeah.
great pressure point. And we should
Yeah.
jump on board the AP and go, look, you want us there? By God, they've got to be there.
That's it. Exactly.
Yeah.
And to me, they just, they're trying to get away with turning us into Hungary. They're trying to turn us into a kleptocracy where, the dear leader appears, he gets the sycophantic media outlets asking the questions that he wants to hear. That's not how we do things in this country, folks. That's not the United States of America. And for the MAGA folks out there who are like, "Oh yeah, hell yeah." Let me throw this one at you, Brian, and I'm sure you saw this when Zelensky was in the Oval Office. the White House almost let in a representative from TASS, the Russian state media agency, and they blocked the AP and Reuters from being involved in that spray and in that photo opportunity. What kind of world are we living in where TASS is going to get in and not the AP and Reuters? Now, apparently, when it was called to the White House attention, they said the TASS guy couldn't get in there, but this White House was going to let the Russians in there, but not the AP and Reuters.
The Russians can come in, but not the Americans because transparency. If that
Right?
makes
Yeah.
any sense to
What?
you, that's, I mean,
What the hell's
what kind of
happening?
BS is that? That's, yeah.
I
Well,
know.
here's the thing that bothers me the
Yeah.
most about that is not only how they're administering it, but who is administering it. The people in this White House, you have a 27-year-old
Yeah.
PEP secretary with no gravitas, and everyone underneath her has no experience.
Yeah.
So they're not, I mean, even Trump one had people like Judd Deere and and others that we could rely on
You had
who
some
had
pros in
some
there, sure,
experience
sure.
to
You
give
also
us
had
some
Spicer and you
information.
had Sarah Huckabee Sanders, but
Yeah, well, that's
not everything's perfect in life.
oh yeah, her. That's
Yeah. I mean, Caroline Levitt kind of makes Sean Spicer look like a Rhodes Scholar. I mean, I will say,
and
it's
that's
kind of,
hard to do, brother.
I mean, I'm watching these briefings and I'm thinking to myself, well, because I was toying with the idea when I started the Substack, maybe I should go get my press pass back and go in there. But what in God's name would that do? I mean, you're just asking somebody questions. It would be like asking, I don't know, like going to your local high school and asking the kids there,
Right.
about Kim Jong Un and stuff. No, I mean, it might even be more
Well, she
productive to go to
doesn't
the local high
understand
school.
what a tariff is. You saw that
I
yesterday. They don't
saw
know what a
that.
tariff is.
Yeah,
And
and she got mad. She said, "Well, how dare you question my economic know-how and my ability to talk about tariffs and so." Well, you're the press secretary. You ought to know about these things. People ought to
and
know
that's
about
our
these.
job to question you about your knowledge
That's
of
right.
these things.
Yeah,
That's
and
what we're
Donald Trump
there
doesn't
to
know what a
do.
tariff is either. By the way, if this just in,
Yeah.
Donald Trump does
In
not
case
know
you
what a
didn't.
Donald Trump does not know what a tariff is. He thinks it's like pieces on a checkers board, and he's saying, "King me." I just put a tariff on your country, king me. And these other countries are like, okay, hey, I don't know if you realize this, but we can do tariffs too. And then he turns
Yes.
off the next day or a few hours later. He says, okay, now we're not going to do these. It's pretty remarkable what's been happening over there, Brian. And I just wonder, what do you think? How do you think some of this plays out? Because
Internationally?
well, I mean, I mean, politically for Donald Trump, I mean, he's put Elon Musk in charge of this Doge project.
Ugh.
It has gone spectacularly awful for
Off the
both of
rails,
them.
yes. Well,
Tesla stock has dropped. Donald Trump's stock has dropped in the polling. And where do you think this goes from here?
Well, first, let's go back to what you said about going back to the press briefing room. If you and I showed up on the same day, I think we would probably cause you, me, and a few others that we know of that gave him grief. And if he showed up in the
Yeah,
briefing room and we were there, we might induce him to have a spasmodic attack of biblical proportions. But
yeah,
nonetheless, with that being said, what do I expect internationally? It's horrific for the United States. USA AIDS is, these were our eyes and ears. So we are blinding and deafening ourselves to the plight of the world. They don't like us anymore. Our
right.
allies don't like us. How does this play out here? Locally in the United States, well, here how it will play out, I think, is that the tariffs are going to crush the economy. And
Yeah,
when Donald Trump said what on Sunday, I can't rule out that there would be a recession. By God, on Monday, the stock market reacted to that pretty sternly.
unreal,
And then
unreal.
he came out Tuesday and doubled down on it. I don't think he has it in, and speaking to his niece, Mary Trump says she believes that there's always a method to his madness. And
Hmm.
at some point in time, I think that's true. I mean, there are those who believe he wants to level it all, declare a national emergency, and then cancel elections so he stays in office.
Hmm.
That's the
Hmm.
extreme. Could that happen? Well, with Donald, anything could happen. But I
Anything
also
can
think
happen. Yeah.
I think he's delusional as hell. You and I
Yeah.
both know from that first administration, there were times when he just didn't make any sense. And
No.
he speaks out of his rear end, and then he tries to double down and back it up. So it
Yeah.
could be that as well. The method to
Yeah.
his madness is his madness.
And
And
people are like, "Oh, it's three-dimensional chess." No, he's eating the chess pieces.
no,
That's it. He's
he's the dog who eats the sock. That's what he
he
is.
is. Yeah, and it's stuck somewhere in that intestinal tract, and by golly, it's going to cost a lot to get that sucker out. But not to get too vivid here, but
But I like the imagery. You're going in the right direction.
yeah, I mean, it's a dog eat dog world. There's no question about it. But
And we've
uh,
got milk bone shorts.
yeah, yeah, no, no, there you go. Exactly. Tip your bartenders and waitresses. But I just getting back to this press pass thing. To me, it's going to take something, and this idea that the networks and the press corps and so on, they're going to treat Trump like a normal, conventional politician and president. I mean, we saw the
Why?
coverage. Why? Why? We
Why?
saw the coverage around his speech before the joint session of Congress. Donald Trump is coming out of the White House now. He's getting in the beast, and he's going to go down Pennsylvania Avenue, and I kind of thought when Melanie Stansbury, the congresswoman, had that sign up that said this is not normal, I said that she just put her finger on exactly what is going on right now. This
I love
is
the dry
not
erase board.
normal. This is
No.
not normal.
Well, and for me, and I know you have to feel this as well, the most
Yeah.
frustrating thing for me is someone who's new to this going, gosh, if we only saw this coming. And that's when I want to pick up the phone and call you and go, hey, Jim, didn't we see this? Not
We
only did
saw
we see
this.
this coming,
You
we
saw that we saw this for
reported on
four
it.
years. Yeah.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
every day for 4 years, from the moment he walked down. I tell you what, if you didn't realize what you were in store for, the moment he went after a reporter, a poor, reporter who
Yeah.
had physical, problems. If when he went after that reporter, if you didn't understand right then what Donald Trump was about, then you would never see it coming. But
Yeah.
for those of us who had to cover him on a daily basis, for those of us who were in front of him, for those of us who got kicked out of press conferences, called fake media, said, I told him if they let him in here, he nothing but trouble, which you and I both
Hmm.
got on a number of occasions.
Yep. Yep.
Fake
Yep.
media pointing at it, all of that.
Enemy
If
of
you
the
did,
people. Yeah.
yeah, the enemy of the people. If you didn't get that, but then again, remember, you and I were both there when some of the reporters in there said one thing privately and another thing publicly.
Well, that does raise a good point, and I love my friends over there at the White House press corps, and
I
everybody
do
has
too.
a job to do, and it's a hard job, and so sometimes folks aren't there behind you 100%, but they were behind us during some of that, and maybe things are said differently privately, but I think now people are starting to see what happened to you and I individually 4 years ago can be broadened out and happen on a much larger scale in a way that can be very dangerous for our democracy. If we're going to have a situation in this country where the president of the United States, his people, can pick and choose who is in the White House press corps, or who is in these sensitive situations like the Oval Office, Air Force One, and get to ask these tough questions, that my friends, that's just not America. It's not who
No.
we are.
And to your point, and this is I always go back to Ben Bagdickian. And for those
Yeah,
and I've talked to young reporters who say, what do I do? And I go,
yeah,
I'll go to another one of my mentors who was Ben Bagdickian. And his quote is, never forget that your obligation is to the people. It is not at heart to those who pay you, to your editor, to your sources, or to your friends, or
that's
to the
it.
advancement of your career. It
Yeah,
is to the public.
to the
And if you
public.
will remember that when you're in there, or as Helen Thomas once said, and I mean, either she stole it from Harry Truman or Harry Truman stole it from her. She said,
Yeah,
Brian, if you want a friend, get a dog. Your job is to hold these people accountable. And so
yeah,
I take that seriously. I know you did. I know others do.
yeah.
But for those young reporters who don't get it, let me explain it to you in terms you can understand. You are there to be the immovable object or the irresistible force, pick your
Yeah,
metaphor, Ask them the questions. Sometimes Sam would say, Brian, I'm never worried about you being rude. I'm more worried about the reporters who won't ask the question.
Yeah,
And that's, to me, that's
I agree with
exactly
that.
right. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I agree with that. And to me, in this time, in what we're dealing with right now, they're announcing that they're cutting the Department of Education by 50%. You have Elon Musk referring to Social Security as a Ponzi scheme. You have Trump
yeah,
siding
what's
with Russia.
cryptocurrency?
Yeah, and he's calling Zelensky a dictator and so on. In this moment, there's no such thing as being too tough on Donald Trump.
No,
There's no
no.
such thing. I'm sorry. That
Well, and your
not
access isn't going to be increased by being a sycophant to Donald
they're
Trump.
not.
There's a young reporter I know who talked to another reporter that you and I both know a
Yeah,
couple of days ago, and he was making a joke that put us all, it's like, come and get our office space. What are you going to come in? And he said,
yeah,
don't do that. Don't do that. And he goes, well, that's how I'm trying to loosen them up, and that's how I make sources. Well,
yeah.
look, pal, let me explain it to you in terms you may or may not understand. It doesn't matter how much butt you kiss of Donald Trump. It's not going to get you greater access,
It's
and
not
you
what you
don't
think.
want that's not what it's about, and you don't want access to his butt. So stand
Yeah,
up and be counted.
yeah. Access Hollywood is not just a TV show about the entertainment industry, but
Right? Well, you know
um,
what James Carville said, and I stick to it to this day. He says, DC is Hollywood for ugly people. So let's.
yeah, I tell you, if you don't laugh, you'll cry. Well, Brian, great to talk to you. I'm glad we caught up. Let's keep doing this. Next time there's a big update over at the White House with this press stuff, let's you and I jump back on, and let's maybe try to get Ted Boutros to
Well,
come on.
that's
He
yeah.
would be great. I think he would
Let's
be
get
great to have
Ted,
on.
and you and I are talking about some speaking engagements that I would love to have
Yeah, I
Ted.
know. We want to reunite with Sam Donaldson and
Yep.
Sam. By the way, for the folks who are still watching and appreciate everybody staying with us, Sam is still sharp as a tack and is just fantastic. He is just
And he
absolutely
just
fantastic.
celebrated his birthday. His birthday is one day before mine, so
Oh
we reach
wow!
out every
Happy
year.
birthday!
Yeah, his is the ninth and mine is the 10th. So
Oh well,
his
happy
was on the
birthday to both of you!
49th day of Trump, and mine was on the 50th day of Trump. So
Wow,
he,
how
he
about that?
yeah, he closed out 7 weeks. I started the eighth week. I,
Oh
I I
my
don't know where we're
goodness!
going from there.
Yeah. Well, I would say happy birthday, but it's another day that ends in Y, I guess, just like every other
There
day
you
here.
go. Well,
Uh,
Jim, it's always fun to be around. It's always fun to hang out with you, brother.
let's do it again. All right, great to see you, Brian. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it, buddy. Good to
Later.
see you, sir. All right. Brian Karem, veteran journalist, take no bullshit kind of journalist, my kind of guy, and I'm so glad we got a chance to talk about Sam Donaldson a little bit because I it's true what Brian was saying, and I came up the same way. I was raised the same way, which is that's what this is about. These are the kinds of folks you want to be like. Sam and Dan Rather, and that's how I grew up in this business, and those are the two guys that I really wanted to emulate. Coming up in the earlier days of my career, maybe we can try to get Sam on Substack. That would be just phenomenal. We could try to do that. I think that'd be a lot of fun. Thanks everybody for watching today. Really appreciate it. I also want to, just in case folks are watching this podcast or listening to this podcast, because don't forget, it gets recorded, goes on YouTube, goes to Apple Podcasts, goes to Spotify and other places. Earlier in the day, I did a special report. It was a special edition of the Jim Acosta Show, The Great American Pushback, and we were live with Lauren Windsor, the filmmaker Lauren Windsor. And I put that out earlier today. The recording has gone out. If you want to check that out, Lauren was actually live from a rally in Raleigh, North Carolina, protesting the Doge cuts. She was fantastic. She was putting on state lawmakers. She put on Anderson Clayton, who was the head of the Democratic Party in North Carolina, excuse me. And and Lauren just absolutely crushed it and gave us sort of a live picture right here on Substack of what was going on at that rally. So we didn't have that in this edition of the Jim Acosta Show. That was on earlier today. Um, but the one that we put on at 12:30, if you want to go back and find that recording, you can see what Lauren did with us there. That was terrific. That was really a lot of fun. So my thanks to her. My thanks to Tara Setmayer. Tara was fantastic today. She is wonderful, and going to be doing a lot more with her in the future as well. And of course, my thanks to Brian Karem. And thank you, everybody, for watching. Still reporting. And as I was saying earlier today, I am in San Francisco, the great city of San Francisco. But I'll be back in DC next week. But still reporting, I'm Jim Acosta. Have a great day, everybody. Thanks a lot. Bye bye.